I mentioned that I'm going to share with you the 10 trends in sustainable aquaculture, but I want you to focus on the word "and more" because I did that yesterday as well. So these are the top 10 trends in sustainable aquaculture based on the brilliant minds that ChatGPT-4 gave me. And I shared this yesterday as well. And someone in my team will actually share again the link for the whole top 10 trends. But I want you to be careful because I mentioned there's a lot of information as well. And so
good day, everyone.
Going to end up happening is that you will know a lot of this because there's different information online. So even these top 10 aquaculture trends provided by Start Us Insights, as I mentioned yesterday, you can already get overwhelmed with the different trends that are over there. But what is actually more important is what we talked about yesterday. So I'm just summarizing here the trends that I shared yesterday. The age of distrust. Now that we're coming from a point wherein there's too much chaos happening in the world. You heard we talked about winter is coming. It's not coming, it's here now. The world is in chaos now. So what do you do to gain trust, to be able to be in the boom industry? The age of AI, we talked about that yesterday as well. We even had Tony from Manilin Aqua talk about how AI came about. How can we ride the wave of AI so we're not fearful of something new? Something new can help us to the next level. Society 5.0, we talked a lot about what it's like to be high tech and high touch. Powered community, obviously, it's shameless self-promotion. Please do join our LinkedIn community because we do want to help you. We also talked about the blue ocean revolution. You heard Miguel talk about e-fishery this morning, being a unicorn aquaculture company. We talked about Asparagopsis seaweed being used by CH4 Global, who just finished their funding for $29 million. And West Coast Aquaculture, who did an IPO in cryptocurrency, granting that they got delisted. It's the second mouse going to get the cheese and the monkey syndrome. And so there's a lot of things happening. But now I would like to share future trends 6 to 10. So we talked about this, what your action steps are from the future trends that I shared yesterday. So know that you have this in your notes. You have to create a roadmap. Obviously, we would want to help you how to get started on what your steps are after the conference. Join our LinkedIn community, as mentioned. Make a list of how you're going to ride this green economy, green tech that's happening in our industry. But now I'd like to bring you future trend number 6. So what are these new economies? These new economies, so write this down. There are 3 of them. So the gig economy, which is the creator economy, blockchain economy, and circular economy. So I wanted to do a little bit of each one, but know that in your notes, you can put down those 3 economies. So what is a gig economy? Especially after COVID, you know that there's less labor that's available in terms of some industries, but the labor market now relies heavily on temporary and part-time positions filled by independent contractors and freelancers rather than full-time permanent employees. You will see here the history of the gig economy, wherein it actually started in the 1900s. I didn't know this until I had this presentation. And as you know, 2021, 2022, after COVID, there are a lot more people feeling more comfortable, having more quality of life. Really, it boils down to more quality of life, that they have more autonomy on how they're going to work. In fact, I think there's even talk about some of the people who worked from home during the pandemic don't want to go to offices anymore. I mean, if you're having to have less commute, that's more life added to your existence, correct? And so I wanted to talk about how in this new economy of the gig economy, you can take advantage of having maybe a side gig. Let us know if this is something that you would want to do, how you can get started being a freelance if you're a full-time employee, or if you're an aquapreneur, what other gigs you can do with your other partners. So I wanted to go and have a conversation. The next one is blockchain economy. We talked a lot about that with Dolian today. And I think the biggest issue in terms of blockchain is that a lot of people don't understand what it is. I come from a background of certified public accounting, and my background is in audit. So one of the things that I make it simple in my head, make it simple in your head, right, is that in accounting, we have what's called ledger. So it's basically just a notebook or a journal that we put in where we actually jot down the history of a transaction. So basically, blockchain is the same. It's a ledger, but it's in the ether. So that's why it's a little bit complicated because nobody sees it, but it's a record. It's a record on the cloud, if I may say that. And Sharad may be able to explain to you a lot more because he's more into Web3 than I am, but I just made it simple. And so the importance of this is a little bit later today, I'm going to do a trend of why blockchain economy is important. And you saw this from 3 weeks ago. Aquanor flow-through salmon farms fall into tax gray area. Aquamof lets numbers do the talking. So there's already a lot of how tracing of transactions is very hard. That's why they call it gray area. And how does blockchain help with that? So obviously, we're going to talk about the first attack that's been happening is the tax. So tax is deducted from your paycheck at source if you're and you don't know how much you're going to get at the end of the day. So what is happening? How does blockchain can help with that? Second attack. I mentioned a while ago, I was in a mastermind group the other day, and how much a lot of people apparently who had corporate 6 figures income jobs in Canada are moving to Costa Rica because it's just too expensive to live here. They can't pay their mortgages, where they can actually have probably a really nice area that's ocean view in another country. And food costs, our food costs here in Canada has probably quadrupled, if not triple, after COVID. And so inflation, obviously, and I think the rates here is based in Europe, 9%, prices are rising. Everything is getting more expensive, not just luxury items, but basics like I mentioned, food and drinks. Your quality of life will start to fall unless you earn more. It's a very big issue that we're going to stress about if we can't meet our quality of life. And what's the third attack? Maybe you can grow your money in the bank, but the days of 6% in banks are gone. You're lucky to get 0.5%, maybe even minus -% if you leave your money in the bank. With official inflation at 9%, you're losing money when you keep your money in the bank. Literally. Fourth attack, the more there is of anything, the more worthless it becomes. You heard about printing of money by governments. Central banks are printing more money than ever before. The more they print, the more worthless it becomes. That's why blockchain technology is going to come into play. And don't just think about now, think about 10 years from now. You know, you're from aquaculture. You are resilient people. Most ocean farmers I know will ride the legacy. What it's going to look like, let's say 100 years from now, with the generational legacy that you're going to be leaving. So the money we own becomes more and more worthless by the day because of a lot of printing. So, and that's not even talking about attacks 5, 6, 7, or 8. If you want your children to have a good education, you need to pay for it, whether it's private and or university. Your parents are not getting any younger. I'm in this situation. My mom is 86, turning 87 actually next week. And my dad is 80, and retirement homes are increasingly expensive. One day you will realize your pension is not enough and you've run out of time and energy to do anything about it. When money stops flowing in, you'll have problems when you're older. We are all living longer, which is good news, but at the same time, if we're out of money, our golden years are not golden at all. So these are just some of the things that are attacking us, left, front, and center. And I'm here not to be a Debbie Downer, but I wanted us to use the wave so that we can take care of ourselves and not be depressed by what's happening in the world because of these attacks. So we're being attacked on multiple fronts. Tax alone won't kill us, but it makes us weaker. Our money is not growing in the bank. It doesn't kill us, but again, it makes us weaker. Price inflation won't kill us, but it also makes us weaker. So when our money is becoming worthless, that alone doesn't kill us, but the tax and not getting anything in the bank and the price inflation and the value of our money is falling. What do we do? So when we are hit on many fronts by several things at the same time, it has a huge negative multiplier effect and it literally kills our finances. So it's just a matter of time. So how do we ride the wave? Use blockchain. So now the next economy is circular economy. And I'm moving into this because I had a really good workshop from Monday, I think, or Tuesday. And the Association of Sustainability Practitioner has a workshop on finiteness. and sustainability. And this video was shared, so I wanted to share it with you.
What do you know about the force? Impressive. Lesson 1. Sit here, legs crossed. The force is not a power you have. It's the energy between all things, the tension, the balance that binds the universe together. Close your eyes. Breathe. Now, reach out. Breathe. Just breathe. Reach out with your feelings. See.
The island. Life. Death and decay. That feeds new life. Warm. Cold. Peace. Violence.
And between it all,
Balance. Energy. A force.
and inside you,
Inside me. That same force.
and this is the lesson. To see the yield.
There's something else. Beneath the island. A place. A dark place.
Balance. Powerful light, powerful darkness. It's a
It's calling.
Mr. Ray.
So I wanted to share that with you because there's a lot of talks now in terms of balance. And I was talking to one of my mentors the other day, and he talked to me about mostly it's about balance, but it's also intention of priorities and intention of choices. So we hear a lot about ESG, environmental, social, and governance in the circular economy, in the sustainability world, but there's also a lot of greenwashing. And when I talked about the 3 pillars of sustainability, leadership being defined as do the right thing, even though nobody's watching. There's also a lot of opportunity that's available for us. The ESG assets may hit $53 trillion by 2025, a third of global asset under management. So how do we ride this wave? Impact investing, you can see here in terms of mapping ESG strategies. And again, these slides are available for your own reference after the conference, but know that there's a lot of this that's happening. And what are the business models that you can ride so that you can take advantage of this? Because in the near year, maybe 3 years from now, this can be one of the answers that you have in our questions of what would that look like 3 years from now? What's the circular economy business model that you're going to be implementing? So here are some statistics that you can see at your own leisure, but it really talks about the models broken down into renewability, sharing platforms, product as a service, product life extension, and resource efficiency and recycling. Which leads me to my next and my favorite of all trend is the future of money. So I shared in my talk in Melbourne a month ago, actually, about this trend. And how many of you have heard of the word BRICS in the last year or two? Maybe even it's the first time that you heard it is today. So we'll talk about that. But if you go online and ChatGPT or Google it, how much the dollars has declined in the last 50, maybe even 100 years compared to how the crypto has risen in value. It's a staggering, the big gap on what that is. So again, you can look at all of this in terms of prediction, and you can watch the videos that are on the reference on your slides. But just know that the future of money is very different from what it was like even 10 years ago. US debt rank compared with the rest of the world, you can see all these references about the US debt ceiling and about what's happening in terms of the reserve currency. And so even China has a digital yuan now, and all of these statistics are available for you. But I wanted to highlight this slide because BRICS stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And interestingly, actually just last week, Saudi, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and United Emirates already actually joined this financial defense, I call it. If you're familiar with NATO, that's a regional defense alliance. If you're familiar with NAFTA, that's an economic trade partnership. BRICS is actually a financial defense. And if you get a copy of the book, Permanent Distortion, it talks about geoprotectionism. Basically, they wanted to be able to protect themselves from what's going to happen with the North American currency. And so they're developing this new reserve currency. Interestingly, they call it probably BRICS box. So what value are you creating to create your own economy so you have your own financial defense? Because it's very important in sustainable business 5.0 that you have this. That's why I was discussing the future of money, because this is very important when we go and actually think about what's going to happen. And you've already seen some of this news. This news was actually from a year ago. What happens when Biden threatens Saudi after OPEC got cut, and then Saudi about threatening the West with all of these other news, right? So you have this in your fingertips now. So what are you going to do about it? So you can read this at your own leisure of what are all these references that will define the future of money. And obviously, as I mentioned, all these future trends is to alert us of how we can ride and surf the wave of these future trends. You can see here of how much households are invested in different kinds of empowered in opportunities right now. So these are all in your fingertips now. I shared yesterday too about, I have a mentor who told me in the group that we belong to that millionaires look for opportunities, billionaires look for trends. And so in this workshop, you are all billionaires because you are now equipped with these future trends. Which leads me to trend number 8. And this is one of my favorites because this has appeared in all 3 years of the trends that I've been collating, and it's called seasteading. And for those of you who doesn't know what seasteading is, I'd like to share with you this video.
Question I get quite often is, what is seasteading? And seasteading started out, I guess, in 2008. It's a movement. It started out as a nonprofit, so it's called the Seasteading Institute, based in California. But I think just a couple months ago, seasteading is actually a word that's recognized by the Oxford Dictionary, and what it means is living on platforms on the open oceans and with new forms of society. So the way I got involved in seasteading is I was a government minister in French Polynesia. So a lot of people know my country by the name of Tahiti. And when I left the government, I was looking at interesting opportunities for what we could do, especially in terms of sea level rise mitigation. It's an issue that's quite front of mind for a lot of Pacific Islanders, especially now. And I had come across this institute, read about them. They were very, there was a lot of media focus on them back in 2008, 2010, 12. So basically I reached out to the institute and said, my understanding was that they had built a huge network of specialists, of aquapreneurs, of scientists, researchers, investors. But what the movement was missing was the support, strong support of a government that was willing to have a light hand on regulation and allow such an ambitious project as the world's first sustainable, self-sustaining floating island. So French Polynesia had the advantage when I reached out to Seasteading to have several things that the Institute was interested in. And one of the first questions they asked was about connectivity. So, is your country connected to the internet backbone? Connectivity is obviously crucial for big data that's going to be generated by the researchers, the scientists. So the first thing was, do you have a submarine cable? So we checked that one off. 2010, French Polynesia connected to Hawaii. So we're right on the internet backbone. Huge unused capacity, I think 99% unused. So obviously available for research. And the second major concern was about hurricanes, cyclones, and tsunamis. So basically, all right, we're going to be doing this pilot project, floating island. Obviously, the weather and the situation in your country is important to us. So we did some research. I already knew from being from French Polynesia that this was a very rare occurrence. I think we've had 2 hurricanes in the last 100 years that had significant damage. There was property damage, very light loss of life, and tsunamis are not really an issue for us. We're in the middle of the South Pacific, so we get at least an 8-hour window before any tsunami were to hit us. But just given the geomorphology of the islands, we don't get these high waves that you get when you have a continental shelf. The objective of the pilot is to get all of these technologies tested on a smaller scale. It's small, yet we should be able to support around 200 people. So our objective is 200 to 250 people living full time. There'd be about a third research and scientists, a third will be people who just love to live on seasteads, and we've got a long list of people who want to come live on a seastead. Another third, we believe, are going to be startups and entrepreneurs that are building technologies around the ocean. So basically all sort of blue tech. You've got underwater drones, you've got all of these different types of startups that are linked to the space. We also have the issue of energy. Now, obviously, we need.
So you can watch that on your own, but I just wanted to have your eyes open on what this is like. So as you know, Hong Kong and Singapore is actually already on this. That's why they're very progressive, because they're in an island and the government have a little bit of not quick access, because they're helping each other together how to be sustainable in that island. And interestingly enough, one of our partners actually, I think 3 years ago, told us they have a 10,000 tons and 80,000 tons freighter that was no longer seaworthy for ocean-based farm for yellowtail or yellowfin. So this is already happening. It's not even going to happen. This is already happening. So with that, I'd like to launch trend number 9, learning networks. And these are pretty straightforward. You guys are here to collaborate and learn and peer support. We have our community now. You can do the networking opportunities, and hopefully we see you in person in real life from another workshop that we're going to be doing. But what we're doing today is informal learning and knowledge sharing. The days of going to school to learn is, as you know, has changed after COVID. So I am very appreciative and in great gratitude from all of you who are here, because you started that route in being able to informally learn from experts that we have today. Which leads me to this. Buckminster Fuller said, whether it is to be utopia or oblivion will be a touch and go relay, race right up to the final moment. Humanity is in its final exam as to whether or not it qualifies for continuance in the universe. Join the world game, because he also said to make the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest possible time through spontaneous cooperation without ecological defense or the disadvantage of anyone. He also have his 35 by 70 foot Dymaxion map, Center for Learning about World Resources, Problems and Prospects on a global scale, while students standing on the map enjoying a view equivalent to that of 1,500 miles above the Earth. Which leads me to my last trend, enterprise nation, because as you know, to be able to own your own economy and have a sustainable partnership with community, we need to have this enterprise. Dolian and I were already talking about decentralized autonomous organization. So I'd like to ask you a question. How can we be of value to one another? Let's have our own business support network, a resource hub. I'd like you to think of us in our community as a resource hub, a community for learning and collaboration. And with that, I'd like to share you about this Korean clip that was shared again with ASP last Monday, because it really honed in on me on what can we give to each other so that we can all be of value.
일종의 지역을 제기해 줍니다. 이게 무슨 용없는 짓이야? 대체 운전대 잡는 놈이랑 정상이라니 같은 걸 마시라니? 여기선 모두 같은 차 한 잔입니다. 무슨 개소리야? 죽은 것도 억울한데 평생 살아와야 시계 하나값도 안 되는 인생이랑 이렇게 같은 취급을 하면 근데 그 시대는 이미 멈췄고 그러니까 어떤 것도 이승에선 힘센 사람으로 잘 살았어. 하지만 정문을 넘는 순간 알게 될 거야. 눈으로 지은 죄, 입으로 지은 죄, 손발로 지은 죄, 마음으로 지은 죄가 얼마나 힘이 센지.
So I'd like to share that video with you because, like I said, we are all learning here. We'll be of value to each other if we work as a community. So we'd like to continue help you with your journey. Obviously, I'd like you to join a Sustainable Aquaculture Mastermind, book a one-on-one call so that we know how to be able to help you. And with that, I'd like to share this one last video with you because the Sustainable Aquaculture movement is at the precipice of change.
So many questions to ask you. It's beef. So we're not so different after all. I wish that were true. But there must be alternatives. You must have some technology that could solve our problem.
Your problem is not technology. The problem is you. You lack the will to change.
Then help us change.
I cannot change your nature. You treat the world as you treat each other.
But every civilization reaches a crisis point eventually.
Most of them don't make it.
Yours did. How?
Our sun was dying. We had to evolve in order to survive.
So it was only when your world was threatened with destruction that you became what you are now.
Yes.
Well, that's where we are. You say we're on the brink of destruction, and you're right. But it's only on the brink that people find the will to change. Only at the precipice do we evolve. This is our moment. Don't take it from us. We are close to an answer.
We are in the precipice of change. Thank you for joining us, and I'd like to be able to see you in our LinkedIn community. And so with that is the future trends, and I hope you learn a lot